Hey guys and girls, it's Norm here from Winter Steelhead Fishing. Uh, I don't know really want to get a title, but I think it should be just all around fishing, maybe. I really don't know. Maybe these guys could leave a suggestion. I don't know. Anyway, I was like to get a video out here today, but the conditions here in Northeast Ohio are just terrible. The rivers are high and the lake is a mess. Northeast winds. Waves are about 3 to 4 feet, and I was gonna hopefully get some fish down at the current, but it just ain't gonna happen with the northeast wind with the waves that high and that. I was hoping to go to that hot water discharge and hook some big steelhead today. Anyway, so I thought I'd go back and show you guys some pictures I have. Just bear with me. Some of them are obsolete, like Polaroid pictures, as a matter of fact, before cell phones weren't even around, and I was never able to afford a decent camera, unfortunately. But I do have some decent pictures of not all Polaroids. I'll just give you an example of how long I've been fishing and doing this stuff, guys. Here's a smallmouth, 8-pound smallmouth, and this is in '98, but I believe this isn't even older than '98. I did have a better picture of it that showed how big it really was, but I lost it somewhere. Well, there's another one of me with that 8-pounder. Over here is my wife made that cake. It's big walleye chasing a smaller perch. You see, it was actually at a boat dockage place in the years 2000. And it really was a nice place. Guy ended up messing up, never had insurance, and there was a railroad owned the property, and somebody backed up into one of their vans, and he, it was wanting to be a cheap ass and didn't want to pay the railroad said, hey, you pay for damage, everything's cool, If you don't, then you're gonna have to look for a different place for your people to dock their boats at because they own the road, and he was a real dumbass. He didn't want to cooperate with them, and they canceled the lease. And after all that work, he was getting bigger and bigger, and charging. I had an 18-foot boat at the time, and I never really had anything bigger than a 23-foot boat, and I was one of the cheapest ones. But he was moving up. He was like charging people. People were coming in there with 30-foot boats, and I think as he started getting bigger and greedier, it cost them in the long run. It's just terrible because it was such a nice place to go. It was only about 10 minutes off from the main river, which didn't take that long. Now it takes me 35 minutes to go up the river, but I really don't mind. It's a lot of my sailboat friends that look out for me in case I get into some heavy water or where I need help. Unfortunately, I never had to use their help, but they're there for me. I get some, I always offer them some extra fish, when I come in. I always go real slow next to their boats. I don't know if any of you guys own sailboats, but, they're very expensive, just like any motorboat, and even more money, and they don't like them to be bouncing around when you're coming through there, going fast, and, I always respected them, and they respected me, and if I need their help, and to be all honest with you, they're the only ones out there in waves, in 8 to 9 foot waves, and I've been out there in 8, 9 foot waves, guys, and the only thing you can do is 1 second is take your hand off the steering wheel because autopilot doesn't work anymore. You net the fish and you get right back on the steering wheel, and that's not even taking a chance. With the years of experience I do have, I can get away with it, but Lake Erie is very, very dangerous water. It's because it's so shallow, and it gets rough in a matter of minutes. And you don't want to be caught out there in anything over 6, 7 foot waves. And 20-some foot boats, like a canoe for Lake Erie. I mean, I don't know if these guys are familiar, but you go to Virginia Beach or New Jersey, and their boats there are just as big as the boats we have here on Lake Erie. So it just tells you how rough the waters get on Lake Erie. Anyway, getting back to some of the pictures. So there's that, and well, here's a 15-pounder walleye. I mentioned. It broke my net, actually. And the only thing that held that was a little nipple on a trolling bar that attaches to the to my motor, my trolling motor. That's my daughter there. She was probably about 12 years old or 11 at the time. And I was just one huge wall. I should have minded. I ate it. And my friend, believe it or not, didn't talk to me for yeah, oh, it was a long time, man. I think it was like 3 months. I offer them half the fish because all they do is mine half the fish. Now they use styrofoam. I heard a lot, but back then it was mostly just use one side of the fish. So, but I told him, I said, be patient. We'll get another big one. Well, it wasn't long. It was, I think, the following year I hooked a 14 pounder or 13 and a half pounder, and as he was looking at it, it was the last fish. We were filleting at the time. I think we caught like 10 or 12 of them, and I said, you better get going, man. He goes, what do you mean? I said, because that's like a $250 fish. Around here, it goes for anywhere from $15 to $20 a pound. I don't know where you guys, what walleye goes for, if you can even get it. I never sell it if it's against the law to sell fish anyway. It's a very bad thing to do. Get you in a lot of trouble with the law. And not only that, I'm superstitious. I believe, when you start doing things like that, you will end up at the bottom of the lake, and the walleye will end up beating you. I mean, that's the only fish I know. That's why I just love walleye fishing the most out of all the fishing, I think, guys and girls. It's the only fish I know. You could bring them up from 80 to 100 some feet, 200 feet, and they'll literally fall off right behind the boat, and you think you got a time to net them, and they just slowly just swim right away and go right back to the bottom of the lake or whatever, river or whatever, and they're just wait for another time to break your line, or hopefully successfully you can bring them in. But I mean, that 15 pound, it was just a miracle. I mean, the lake wasn't rough at the time, and I was still drinking at the time, and I think I had a hangover, and I actually put too much line out on wire line, and I think I bounced a dipsy diver right off the walleye's head, because I think it was right on the bottom, because those big walleye like that don't move that fast. And it was just a miracle I got them in, and because usually those fish, they're just with incredible. They just have incredible strength, and with the waves and the current and everything else going on out there, it's a miracle that you can bring anything over 13 to 14 pounds in off the boat. I mean, I know charter boat people that have been fishing for 30 some years, and I don't think none of them ever pulled anything over 13, 14 pounds in successfully. So. Well, here's another picture of me and my son. This is right here. This is I went out on a few walleye tournaments. I'll be honest with you, I never was successful. It always seemed like during a tournament I would catch all small walleye. And this is 1 week before the tournament. I remember, there's my son. He's 33 now. And I guess that's what makes me a great fisherman also, guys, is I could take a 10-year-old kid out there and come back with some giant fish, as you can see right there. These are some walleyes. These are over 10-pound walleyes, ladies and gentlemen. And I can still remember to this day. See, Fish City, that was the name of the place. It was actually a nice layout. And I remember the fish were so big they stretched the treble hooks out on my treble hooks right as soon as I got them in the net. Well, anyway, I remember the guy. It was late too. It was like 6 o'clock. It was like, I think it was July. Is it? Yeah. No, actually, it's in August 1st, as a matter of fact. Well, what is that, 11? Yeah, August 11th. Well, anyway, 96, man, that's a long time ago. Well, anyway, I remember the guy goes, where are you going, Norm? He goes, where are you going with your son? I said, oh, man, I'm just going to go out there and shoot out there a few miles and see what I get, man, just for the hell of it. And what in a matter of an hour, I come back with 3 giant walleye. And the following week, I went out there, and, I'll be totally honest with you guys and girls. I caught 4 walleyes that were no bigger than 21 inches. And the funny thing is, I was out with these guys who are from West Virginia, true backwoods people, and great people, do anything for you, and it's gonna laugh. They come up to me and said, Norm, how'd you do? And I said, well, I didn't even want to tell them how I did, because it was horrible. I said, well, I got 4, and the funny thing is, you had to have 3 walleyes to contribute for the cookout afterwards, after you came in. And if you didn't have 3 walleyes to even contribute, it was embarrassing. Well, they come up, they said, Norm, he said, man, we got something to tell you. I said, what? I said, what's the matter? They said, you think you had it bad? We only caught 1 walleye. I says, no way. They said, yeah, well, you believe in these people are pretty good. Their boat was called Tasmanian Devil. Oh, by the way, my boat's called Mills on Reels. I was working delivering meals for elderly in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and one day I figured that'd be a good name for my boat, and it was. And man, I get so many compliments on that name. And it's funny thing is, but anyway, anyway, I ended up giving a couple of my walleye, and and I just told everybody, I said, man, I had a bad, I only got 2, and I end up sharing my 2 other walleye with them guys, so they wouldn't feel too bad. So that's just a short story. I figure I'd share. Here's how young, look how young I was there. A couple big largemouth bass I caught. There's a picture. I was really young. Couple big steelhead. That fish there is actually that one I mentioned in my video, that 13.5-pound steelhead. The one I left there when I was having problems with my wife. Never did get it out, unfortunately. That was a big steelhead. That was the one that ran me down the river. Right here is a picture of us. My brother over to the left, he's no longer with us. He ended up dying of a drug overdose. The guy in the middle also is dead from drugs. Sad, I heard rumors that that my brother and that guy, that's all they talked about was that trip. It was a northeast trip, 18 miles one way. I remember coming back. Well, I remember we'd be out there and they were smoking marijuana, and I told them, I said, these guys are so high, you can't even put a worm on. And I told them, I said, you just don't throw this, if you don't throw the goddamn if you don't smoke no more marijuana, I'm going to throw the goddamn marijuana off the boat. Because I didn't come all this way to not catch any fish. Well, they put the marijuana away, and we ended up catching a lot of fish. And you can see that real big one there, that first one there. Well, I had one like that, and I'll be honest with you guys, I still smoke tobacco. I mean, I have cut down. I'm smoking cigars now instead of cigarettes, and just a couple a day. I'm trying, it's hard. But I end up stopping and having a cigarette, to light a cigarette. Actually, the fish hit, and I said, I had, I'm holding it. And the secret of walleye fishing is when you're trolling, you never stop reeling. You should just keep reeling, even though how strong they are. And that fish was, I think, like 9 to 10 pounds right there. It's just humongous fish. And I stopped for a second, and it fell off. Well, the way we were doing, we were rotating it, the same rod and reel and everything. Well, it was my brother's turn. The guy here on the left with the Budweiser in his hand. It was his turn. As soon as I put in the rod holder, guys, the fish hit immediately. And that's it right there, another big one, like the one I had on. I was so sick that I stopped there. There's an old picture there of me out there. I remember trolling, and all of a sudden, boom. That's before I was so poor I didn't even have a GPS system. You threw an empty gallon jug of water out there, a gallon of milk, and you hope to find it later. And I believe that picture's even older than that. I think it's like early 90s. I don't even know. Maybe I didn't put a date on there, but yeah. It's a good old picture. Here's my daughter again, me and old friend. I haven't seen him in a long time. It's sad too. I come across a couple of my friends. Well, let me show you the 17-pounder here. Oh, here's a guy, another guy I took under my wing. Family was a douchebag, mother drug addict, and father, and he never even knew his father. Took him under my wing and that. Well, he ended up meeting some girl, and her husband at the time died in a freak accident at work, and she ended up inheriting all these millions, and she gave him all this money, and she was cheating on him at the time and stuff, and she pretty much told him, he can't go fishing with me no more, he won't get any money, and he decided to take the money, and unfortunately, man, he was my right-hand man at the time. It's, my daughter, of course, ended up getting bigger right there. My daughter I mentioned earlier, my son, they went on their ways. And you notice now, I have my one son, but eventually he's going to go on his way. He's going to be a merchant for the Great Lakes or the ocean. I taught him how to steer the boat. And you'd be surprised how much money you make just steering a boat, guys. And girls, it's incredible, the money. $65 to $75 an hour just to drive a boat across the, a ferry across the, the river. I mean, it's amazing. Here's a better picture of that 15-pounder. You can see these walleye here are 22, 24 inches, and look, it would just eat those other walleye right there. There's a big coho salmon I caught in the river in 92. I still catch coho and kings occasionally, especially out trolling on the boat. Here's an old picture of some smallmouth bass. Me and a couple of friends, there's that guy on the left I was telling you about, the one with the wife, the wife that won't let him do anything. And that's unfortunate, my wife, she would never say anything about fishing or hunting, guys. And as long as I wasn't in no strip club and that, she never had a problem with me going fishing. And that's what I always loved about her. Oh, there's a picture of those big fish that we caught that day right before the tournament. Look at my son, he's 33 now. They're almost as large as him. Them walleye. There's a picture of some big giant bullets, steelhead fishing in a hot water discharge.